What started as a joke but became a legitimate thing? What was your worst they can say is no event that ended worse than a no? What is normal in your country but seems weird to the rest of the world? Being middle class with a property having a 6-foot wall, electric fencing linked to an alarm, automated gate and garage doors with security clamps over the gate motor to prevent theft of the motor, security gates over every door, burglar bars, and a house alarm system with infrared sensors linked to armed response with a reaction time of under 3 to 4 minutes. Where are you from? In my friend's country, Easter is when gangs of boys roam the countryside, pouring water over girls and beating them gently with sticks. The girls then have to thank them for it. I thought that was pretty weird. Yeah, you're telling me? That's bizarre. Where is this? Leaving your baby alone outside for their nap, even if it rains or snows. People treat human babies like dogs. Cause people leave their dogs outside when it's raining and snowing, like maniacs. We have matrimonial ads in newspapers and sites to find grooms and brides, which I don't think happens in Western countries, and they find it strange. The ads are mostly published by parents. It's like Tinder supervised by parents. I think the issue I have is that it's labeling as grooms or brides, not boyfriend, girlfriend to figure out what's happening. It's purely for the marriage thing. In university, we thump the tables to applaud our professors instead of actually applauding or doing nothing. During my exchange semester, everyone not from Germany was looking at me confused why I did this. That's the first I've heard of it, so I would probably think it's weird. A short while ago, they stopped selling alcohol after 10 p.m. At some stores, you couldn't even get non-alcoholic beer. What's weird though is that wine is not considered alcoholic drink, so you can buy it anytime. Welcome to Moldova. Wink. Yeah, I can hear you typing. I didn't say it right. Whole restaurants cheering when a plate or glass is smashed. UK. Once was in a Canadian bar/restaurant on holiday and a waiter dropped a tray of glasses. The local looked horrified when I was out of my seat screaming, "Wah!" Strangers sitting totally naked, skin to skin in a steamy room heated to +80 to +100°C, and us having competitions on who can last the longest in there. Yeah, it sounds like a fun game. Yeah, let's who gets the heat stroke first? Putting broken glass bottles on the walls around your house so burglars can't jump it and rob you. I moved to Canada and they don't even have walls around the houses. Putting cable ties, branches, fake eyes, etc. on helmets, buckets, and hats in springtime to scare away the birds. Magpies are vicious bastards. I'm pretty sure we have a lot of magpies where I live and they're not that mean. Granted, I stay out of their way. What's a really awkward situation that everyone can relate with? When you've had multiple interactions with someone, but you can't remember their name, but it's gone too far to admit you've forgotten it, so you just have to call them love or mate forever. I'm horrible at remembering things just in general, so this one gets me. Standing there while two people talk about something you don't know about. I mostly just kind of chime in yeah, haha, for sure, yeah, I know what you're saying. When you try to contribute to a conversation and someone cuts you off multiple times. In that scenario, you are legally allowed to just hit them. You're not saying hello or how are you to somebody and getting 100% ignored. I try and not read into it too much. Maybe they're just having a bad day or they're just evil. When you're walking past coworkers and you've already said hello earlier, everyone makes that weird flat smile. Like a gym helper just I can't audibly explain that. When you're finishing up at the checkout and the cashier puts the notes on top of the receipt and then the coins on top of that, then the next person steps up and you're fumbling, trying to disassemble the stack in your hand, gathering your shopping, say thanks, and move away at the same time. And then as you're walking away, you fumble the coins again and they fall on the floor, and then you try and pick them up, and then the spaghetti falls out of your pockets, and then you're sitting on the floor in Target crying, and no, this hasn't happened to me. Stop asking. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's mother starts yelling at your friend. Or being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's father walks in only wearing underwear. What was that? Why did dads just think, yeah, it's my house, I can do what I want? That awkward moment where you and somebody else try to let each other speak, but you both try speaking at the same time and just keep failing. When you think someone waves at you, so you wave back, but they were waving at someone behind you. The worst movie cliche. You never want to get caught with that in real life. Guys, what made you realize this girl is definitely not into me? Gave a girl at work my number on a piece of paper and she handed it right back and said, "We talk at work all the time, so let's keep doing that." We set up a date. She stood me me up. When I asked her, she simply said she forgot. Good on you for at least taking somewhat of a hint, because I know a lot of people would just keep messaging her until it's really creepy. Asked a girl if she wanted to grab lunch together sometime. She said she was busy that day, which was interesting as I never specified a day. Now that is a smart move. If you want to get out of anything, just say you're busy. Doesn't matter if they tell you the details. Oh, I can't. I got something. I went out to a restaurant/bar with 4 buddies. Some ladies sent over a round of drinks to my 4 buddies. Ooh. Yeah, they went for the fatality there. I'm sorry. Went to her apartment. Then I helped her with Tinder. That's 100%. You're just friend zoned or like never zoned. I don't know. Unless the girl directly says to me, I am into you, or some variation, I will assume by default that they are not into me. This is definitely the safest strategy because you can't just go around thinking everyone wants you all the time. That's not how the world works. She really only talked to me when she needed something. If it was emotional support, then you shouldn't complain. If it's money, ooh. Asked her to senior prom. She said yes, but when we got there, she ditched me to hang out with another guy she liked. Wasn't too bad though, because I danced with another girl who I got along better with. Well, at least there's a happy ending there. When she used to give everyone hugs, but only ever offered me a high five. What if you're just like really stinky and she didn't want to get like coated in that? I don't know. Take a shower? Stop texting first and realize that she never texted me for 3 days. It was totally one-sided. Yeah, that's just about every Tinder interaction I've had. What sounds like fiction, but is actually a real historical event. During World War I, the German Navy built a ship and painted it to make it look like a British ship called the RMS Carmania in order to infiltrate and destroy British convoys. On the ship's first outing, the first enemy it encountered was the real RMS Carmania, which promptly sunk it. In 2007, a paraglider got trapped in the updraft of 2 joining thunderstorms and was lifted to an altitude of 33,000 feet. She landed over 3 hours later, about 60 kilometers north of her starting position, having survived extreme cold, lightning, and lack of oxygen. Oh, that is the scariest thing that I think could ever happen. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a novel in 1838 in which 4 shipwrecked survivors at the point of starvation chose to resort to cannibalism, so they killed a young cabin boy, Richard Park, and eat him. In 1884, a ship called the Minette sank. 4 crew members survived. At the point of starvation, they killed and ate the youngest of them, Richard Park. Ooh, spooky. Louis XIX was king of France for 20 minutes. The shortest war ever recorded was around 40 minutes long. The CIA was researching psychic abilities for 30 years as a way to spy on the USSR. After 30 years, the program was terminated, and their conclusion was that psychic powers probably don't exist. That's what they want us to believe. The dancing plague of 1518. Not gonna go into that, not gonna explain yourself. Okay, Wojtek was a bear who fought Nazis in return for cigarettes and beer. He didn't die until 20 years after World War II. Okay, I'm not gonna let that sounds awesome. That sounds so cool. Spartan weddings. Basically, young Spartans would train for years in camps surrounded only by men. So when the time came for marriage, the women would shave their heads and dress in men's clothing, since the idea of having sex with anyone other than a man weirded out the grooms. You love to see that. You love to see these strong, manly men wanna bang dudes. Operation Mincemeat. The Allies planted a dead body with fake battle plans to trick the Germans into thinking the Allies were going to attack Sardinia when they were in fact going to attack Sicily. They built an entire life for this dead, fake military man, dumped him in the ocean, and successfully distracted the Germans. While that does sound like one Looney Tunes-ass scheme, I guess it worked, so I can't complain. How do you get over someone? It's definitely easier if they're laying down because then you can just walk over them, and it's such a bad joke. You're always gonna carry that weight. Time will strengthen your back. That's kind of a nice sentiment to think about. Don't listen to sad songs or the songs you both like. It will scratch your heart every time. Time. While time does heal most wounds, this is not the answer they were looking for, I'm guessing. Accept the things you cannot change. That includes people. Time. Use generously in all your food seasonings and you should start feeling better within a couple of years. Block them everywhere you have a connection. Start something new that you've always wanted to try. Art, dance, yoga, Tai Chi, a sport, or take a class or a course. Immerse yourself in something new is the idea. A ladder. Now that's the kind of person I like. They get it. I read a quote from a psychologist not all that long ago that said something like, make sure when you are replaying back all the memories in your head that you play the whole documentary and not just the highlight reel. I thought that was some good advice. It can be easy to just play back the good memories, but don't forget all the reasons they weren't right for you also. also. Get under someone new. I like where your head's at too. It's under someone, huh? It's a cliche, but just do you. That's the best advice I would give, honestly. I repeat to myself like mantra, you miss the feeling of being loved, not the person. What is the most unmoanable name you can think of? I can already tell this is going to be a fun question. Quintard. I saw it on a doctor's diploma the other day and just swelled with pity for him. Beetlejuice. Not because you physically couldn't, but because you could only do it twice. Emir var Emreus. The white flame dancing on the barrows of his enemies. Yeah, that one's hard because he insists that you say the full title. You can't just say his first name. Scooter. Oh, Scooter. Eustace. Yrjö? That's a traditional Finnish name, which means vomit in spoken Finnish. Oh, Herbert. Ugh, that didn't feel good. A friend told me their dad's name is Plunkett. Who the f*** looks at their beautiful newborn baby boy and thinks, Plunkett, it's perfect. I met someone named Nausea. Name was on an application. I did my best to tactfully ask how to pronounce it, and she said, it's nausea, just like when you have to throw up. Am I the only one moaning all of these names as I scroll through? I've tried a couple, but it's uncomfy. Your date is a 10, but it has one thing you don't like that is enough to make you lose interest / walk away. What would that thing be? Racist is one, I guess. They did a long, drawn-out, expensive divorce just to punish their ex. Looking down on someone just because they work a minimum wage job. Oh yeah, throw that person in the trash. They're not worth it. I went on a date once with a guy who started flirting with a waitress in front of me, who was 2 decades younger than him and visibly uncomfortable. She listened to nothing but Neil Diamond. Like nothing at all. I mean, I like Neil Diamond just fine, but she had like 200 tapes and records of nothing but Neil Diamond. Nothing else. Nothing! Being on their phone the whole time. They only talk about themselves and have no interest in anything I say. I'd rather not date a narcissist. If they are mean to animals, yeah, that, like, I mean, how would you display that? Like, what, are they kicking squirrels on your way to the restaurant? If they repeatedly make fun of me in front of their friends and say they're just kidding. They hurt animals or children. If you're willing to hurt someone that can't defend themselves, then I don't want to be associated with you at all. If they clearly know they're a 10 and believe everyone around them, including me, should be grateful they're gracing us with their physical perfection. What's not cool anymore when you turn 30? Getting blackout drunk. Turns out I'm not fun. I'm just an alcoholic. I value my sleep a lot more at 30 than I did at 29. It scares me. I'm not in my 20s anymore, but life is good. Sleep deprivation. That one's not really cool at any age, I would say. Teenager / early 20s. Yo, we can save money by booking the 7 a.m. return flight and not paying for accommodations. Let's just stay at the club until 5 a.m. or sleep on the airport floor. 30-year-old, I'd rather die. Bragging about your high school accomplishments. Yeah, when you get to 30, that's just tacky and stupid. Sleeping 8 to a hotel room to save money. Okay, but you can't really dig on people for doing that. It saves money. Spending all your money at the bar on payday. That's not necessarily like a 20-year-old thing. That's an alcoholic thing. Here's some perspective from way in your future. I'm 64. When I was in my 50s, my motto was, oh well, I have 2 mottos from my 60s. Anyway, doesn't matter. And I don't need that stress in my life. It's a great place to live. Acting stupid and doing dumb your risk of getting hurt increases. What's something you can bring up right now to unlock some childhood nostalgia for the rest of us? That feeling when you're going as high as you can go on the swings. Power, freedom, hard to describe. Getting up in the morning on a day it snowed to watch the list of closed schools across the bottom of the news / weather channel, hoping your school was closed. Unfortunately, I grew up in California and schools never closed. It didn't matter. That sound of a door opening and shutting on AIM when your friend logs on. When you'd watch a VHS and it would say, and now your feature presentation. An eraser that looks and smells like a very fake strawberry. Ooh, I remember those. But because I was weird, I would try and eat them. I'm not going to talk about it. Waking up super early on Saturday morning before the rest of the family to watch cartoons. Now that is some dedication. Watching The Price is Right when you were sick at home. Pez dispensers. That's not really an old thing. I mean, they're still around. Less common and less fun, but they're still there. Those candy necklaces. Yeah, as you get older, they start morphing into like thongs and stuff, and they just get weird. Eating one of those plastic-wrapped ice pop things after a long day of playing outside in your backyard with your friends. Oh, like Otter Pops or some people just call them regular popsicles. Like, I don't know. Scholastic book fairs. I never had the money to buy the books, but I became like Robin Hood for the rest of my school. I would go in and steal the zoology and like Egyptology books. The tingle of a skinned knee from dragging on the asphalt and the dread of having it cleaned. Yeah, moms would really just dump rubbing alcohol over a scrape, huh? I guess that disinfects, but that shit hurts. Each sold separately. Batteries not included. How does someone politely end a conversation with the person who won't stop talking? In Flanders, we have a word for it. Bon. And then you say something, I have work to do, it's time to go home, it's time to get drinks. And people realize the other person wants to leave without being mean. When they draw a breath, politely say, on that note, I must be on my way. Then simply leave. If they keep talking over polite cues, I have found there really isn't a polite way to exit the conversation. I seriously need to learn how to do this. I'm too polite and like a magnet for these types who just want a warm body to talk at. Can barely get a word in edgewise, and when I do, it's like they don't even hear me. Say, well, slap your knee and stand up to leave. Sorry, I have to return some videotapes. Find a hedge and slowly disappear into it. Ah, classic Homer Simpson. My go-to is, I don't want to cut you short, but I really need to get going. Let's connect another time. And that's it. Very business of you. Oh my gosh, I've already taken up so much of your time. I'm so sorry. I'm even running late myself. What's your comfort series that you watch over and over again? Freaks and Geeks. I still haven't watched all of it, even though it's really good for the few episodes I've watched, and the few episodes that were released. Malcolm in the Middle. I recently binged the entire show, and I'm surprised that that show was on Fox, of all networks? When I was in grad school, it was House MD, no matter where I was at. Dorm room, library, Memorial Union. If I was writing, I also had House up on Netflix. During my year and a half, I bet I watched that series 5 or 6 times. Such a great show. Stargate SG-1. I've never watched that show. I hear a lot of good things. I'm too scared. Over the Garden Wall. Oh, I watched that a couple years ago, and God, I need to rewatch that every single year. It's such a cozy, spooky show. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Again, Star Trek is something I've been meaning to get into. It's intimidating. The Nanny. Dripping with amazing fashion, sarcasm, and during a simpler time. Top Gear, when it was Clarkson, May, and Hammond. 30 Rock never fails to make me laugh. What is your most controversial take on Star Wars? That it sucks and it's stupid. Yeah, you can kill me. I like Star Wars. The movies, the shows, the games. But the community ruins it. They complain and bitch about every single thing there is. It's fantasy, not history. For a show that explores the fucking universe, so much bullshit happens in goddamn Tatooine. Why is it always the desert planet? Like, why is it always gotta get back there? Not enough planet wars, black hole wars, or moon wars. What's the point? Lasers lock doors. Lasers open doors. Lasers know what you want the doors to do. Alright, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far away. Of course lasers are never mind. Han is actually older than Obi-Wan due to time dilation. The Death Stars weren't badly designed, they were just badly managed. Not sure if controversial, but they need to take the franchise and yeet it into 200 years in the future. I'm tired of the Empire era where they need to justify why more than 2 Jedi and 2 Sith exist at one moment alongside knowing everything is pointless until Luke leaves the farm. That one of the biggest issues of Star Wars is that they keep going all in on Palpatine. I mean, who gave a fuck about the paint-by-numbers evil Emperor during the OG trilogy? I judge most of my opinion of a Star Wars movie by the quality of its lightsaber fights. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what everybody's there for. Cool laser sword fighting. It's awesome. And some movies just didn't use it. What is a minor confession you would like to make today? I pissed in my bully's shoe on a field trip to the public pool when I was 10. I entered a Halloween coloring page contest as my little sister and won first place. A friend I hadn't talked to in a while hit me up with a DM on Twitter, and I was like, oh, yay! I haven't talked to them in a long long time, only to find out that they were pitching their Kickstarter, so it made me a little sad. I had a friend from elementary school message me a couple of years ago. We hadn't talked in years, and he asked if I could help him build a computer so he could mine crypto. I was like, no! Why would I do that? Currently eating an ice cream sandwich and intentionally concealing it from my 2-year-old so he doesn't demand a bite. I could have finished my entire workload today in maybe 2 hours flat, but I dragged it out. If you're paid hourly, then yeah, of course you're gonna do that. I didn't attend one of my courses when I was studying abroad in Spain. I looked for the classroom on day 1, couldn't find it, just didn't go for the rest of the semester. They chalked it up to an administrative error, and I got full credit for the program. I've been browsing Reddit for 3 hours while I'm supposed to be working. That's kind of like what I'm doing. Most of the time when I go to the bathroom at work, I don't actually have to go to the bathroom. I just want to sit down for 5 minutes and not get bitched at for it. As you deserve. Always piss on company time. Or poop, either one. Sorry, poop is funny. I am the one who clogged the office toilet today. You best not be saying that in my workplace, cause ooh, it's hands on site. I've had to unclog the toilet at work like 6 times and I'm sick of it. I let my boss think I'm dumb so he gives me less work. Now they have the right idea. That's how you scam to get that bag. I have to interview people at work and I think I'm usually way more nervous than they are. What's a midlife crisis for people who could never afford a sports car? Crying by ourselves after our family has fallen asleep. Oh, I'm sorry. At 47, I just started woodworking. In retrospect, it would have been cheaper to just buy the damn sports car. For me, it was getting into every hobby that I wish I had done in the previous 20 years. In the last 3 years, kayaks, mountain bike, disc golf, tabletop wargaming, and gardening. Well, at least those all sound fun. Buying an electric guitar without even knowing how to play, then hanging it on the wall in the man cave because you gave up after a couple weeks. I just built an arcade machine in my man cave for the friend I no longer get to hang with. Does that count? Alright, I have a confession. Stop calling things man caves. They're not. Just call it your room at that point. Like, who cares? It's such a weird word. Like, don't use it. Trying to start a band. Even better if it's a punk band. Old punks are pretty punk. Not very typical, but a friend's dad got really heavily into Warhammer 40k. To my wife's dismay, I've started Mealworm Farm. Easy, very little maintenance and cost. Pretty fun to look at the worms and beetles. The thing is, I have no pets to feed these worms to, and the population is exploding. Well, it looks like you're gonna have a pretty big stomp fest coming your way. What was the big rumor in your high school? Did it turn out to be true? I honestly don't remember if mine had any real big rumors, so I guess I'm not a part of the fun. Athletics coordinator was fudging documents on kids' addresses so they would be able to go to our school instead of others in the district. We won like 5 state championships that year. People take sports way too seriously, like it kind of makes me sick. When I was a freshman, some seniors were counterfeiting money. This was around 2004-05. They made some pretty convincing bills and spent them around town, including the school cafeteria. That year I learned that the Secret Service has a counterfeit investigation department. Dr. Palmero, the band teacher, never received his doctorate in music like he claimed. It was weird. He used to force all his students to address him as doctor, but when he came back from his leave of absence, we all called him by Mr., like nothing happened. That a new student was actually a police officer. He was, and the idiots were busted for selling drugs. On a ski trip, the phys ed teacher allegedly porked the science teacher. Someone saw him go into her room in the middle of the night. They denied it, but years later, they got married. That one of the gym teachers, very large lady, broke the diving board every year. I didn't have her class, but from what I understood, it was true, except it only happened once. What is proven to be a hoax, but people still believe it to be true? That cracking your knuckles gives you arthritis. Remember, your knuckles are recharged, so you can crack them again. If you pull out a gray hair, 3 more grow in its place. My sister still believes this one. We only use 10% of our brain. I don't know how this one really got circulated. I mean, how? Touching a baby bird will make its parents reject it. I sorta see where people would think that, but I don't know, it's birds, they'll figure it out. That you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep. Okay, but where's the evidence that we aren't? Huh? MLMs, boss babes, be your own boss scams. I'm not sure how many documentaries need to be put on YouTube before people will stop buying into these companies and wasting their money. Not just their money, their time too. Shaving makes hair grow in thicker. Oh, you're saying that's not true? Well, tell it to my hair. The food pyramid. It's a hoax? I thought it was just like a good standard guideline of like nutrition. It's illegal to keep the light on in the car while driving. No, that one's not a hoax. That's real. Turn it off. What is something that tastes good both hot and cold? Cookies. I guess you're right, because when you buy cookies at the store, they're cold, but when you make them, you can also make them nice and warm and gooey and ooh. Pie. Yeah, I guess same way for that, but there are frozen pies, so yeah. Revenge. No. Revenge is a dish best served cold. You should know that. Chocolate. Hot chocolate? Okay, never mind, you got me. Banana bread. Two totally different flavors depending on warm versus cold from fridge. Sandwiches. I worked at a Jimmy John's for so long. Cold sandwiches are just not worth it. At least when that's all there is on the menu. Go anywhere else, please. Coffee. I'm definitely more of a hot coffee person, but iced coffee does hit on a hot day. The horrifyingly intense existential dread of life. I prefer my existential dread lukewarm. Tea. Yeah, I mean, there's so many varieties to a lot of these things, so of course there's hot and cold. What's something you're 100% sure most people are lying about? Dentist. How often do you floss? Me. Avoiding eye contact. I think it was a week ago. How much their side hustle nets them? Oh yeah, everyone's lying on that. I'm not addicted. I can stop whenever I want. I am not a robot. Like, come on, guy. It's not funny anymore. As a prior US service member, I believe I have met every single Navy SEAL that's ever existed, and then an extra 500 or so. Plus everyone that thought about going into the military. I have read and understood the terms and conditions. When you ask them, how's it going? And they say, it's going good, that they don't pick their nose. You have to admit, you do it. You're doing it right now. Get that thing out of your nose. Fully understanding the plot of the Metal Gear Solid series. No, it's actually like super simple. It's just a guy who, let's move on. What type of people are you scared of? It's a bit hard to categorize, but for me, it's people who can't be reasoned with. Looking at you, BTS kids. I don't remember who said it, but it's not the people that are unsure that bother me. It's the people that are so certain that scare the hell out of me. People who are manipulative liars, who get you to care about them and then play the victim just to watch you suffer. There is an odd category of people who seem to be able to get away with anything they do, may it be by their looks, skills, wits, power, and everything in between. Them. I'm afraid of them. People who refuse to take responsibility for their mistakes. People with a short temper. The drunk guys at a bar that always have that stare. People who are unwilling to accept the limits of their knowledge. Like, you need to be able to admit that you're wrong sometimes. What is the dumbest lyric of all time? I'm farting. I don't know how to potty. Kodak Black? Why would he say that? England is my city? What was that, Team 10? When I was a geisha, he was a samurai. Somehow I understood him when he spoke Thai. Your Love by Nicki Minaj. What are these? Your booty is heavy duty like diarrhea. I love that. If you ever feel alone, don't. One Direction. Oh, hits me right here. I'm serious as cancer when I say rhythm is a dancer. What are you talking about? 50 Cent once said, when I die, they'll read this and say a genius wrote it. Then 3 lines later, he says, I'm similar to a squirrel, looking for a with a nice butt to get a nut. Genius. She was a good witch. She was a bad witch. But all I really wanted was a motherfucking sandwich. What are these? I don't want to see a ghost. It's the sight that I fear most. Rather have a piece of toast. Life by Desiree. What are these? Say that you a lesbian. Girl, me too. Drake, come on. Why are you single right now? Kind of a rude question to ask someone, but I guess. I put absolutely no effort into meeting someone. I've been falling in and out of that zone recently. I have too many unsolved issues. I can't in good conscience bring someone else into them. That's a pretty noble reasoning. I like that. Hard to meet people when you are a hermit. I hardly go out and expose myself to people. I'm uncomfortable with the notion of myself being in a relationship at this point. Also, I'm very dry in terms of personality. Don't knock yourself too hard. Torture file. Supply chain issue. Yeah, it's always, the manufacturers just aren't sending people my way. God damn it, Grandma. What are you doing on Reddit? Last relationship was so toxic. I've sworn off dating, at least for a while. I haven't had this much free time in ages. It's nice. My fiance died died almost 5 years ago, and I'm still a broken and nearly insane shell of a man. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I really hope something takes a good turn for you. Not really looking. Sometimes it's really cool being single, honestly. You can just worry about yourself and your goals getting accomplished. I'm attracted to many and unattractive to all. Every country is an animal. What animal is your country? A beaver riding a caribou. Guess the country. I'm gonna say Lithuania. Kiwi. Oh, okay, so you're from Australia. Dragon. If that's not allowed, then a sheep. Oh, gotcha. South Africa. Turkey, I guess. So you're from Hungary? A sad, hobbled horse with a party hat on. Scotland. Oh, I wanted to guess. Fucking kangaroo with a baby koala in its pouch. I don't know. Oh, okay, so now it's New Zealand. Gotcha. One of those worm things that swim up your hole in the Amazon River. America? A bald eagle with an AR-15 and a can of Budweiser. Classic Britain. My country is actually shaped like a chicken, so I'm guessing chicken. It's Slovenia. Oh, I thought it was gonna be Kentucky, because they fry chicken and stuff. You have to watch one movie for 24 hours straight or your family dies. Snacks are provided. What are you choosing? As a parent, I have already passed this test. It's Paw Patrol, the movie. Honestly, what movie would be bad enough that you wouldn't watch it for 24 hours to save your family? Snacks are provided? Can I do this anyway, please? Any of those high-quality nature documentary movies. Might get boring, but better than repeating a plotline 8 times. The Mummy, 1999. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've done this voluntarily on a sick day. Couldn't be bothered to change the DVD. That's a good movie. You didn't choose a bad one. Groundhog Day, of course. Ooh, now I like where your head's at on that one, just repeating over and over. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, extended cut. But to watch that back to back to back, I don't know, that's a lot. Granted, you'd only be watching it like 5 times, less than. Shaun of the Dead. For some reason, I still haven't seen it, and I feel like a bad person. Am I a bad person? The 10-hour long version of They're Taking the Hobbits to Isengard 2.5 times. Interstellar. Thus, I can finally understand the ending of it. I love the idea of someone getting sick of a movie 20 hours in and being like, sorry guys, I tried, but being bored is more important than you being alive. What's a weird thing you think only you do? Whenever I think about a cringe time I had in my life, I start singing or humming to cover it up. When I need to make a decision, I consult an imaginary person in my head who is a combination of everyone I know, and they give me advice that I'm really giving myself. When a car drives past me, I try to remember the number on the plate. There's no reason for that, it just automatically happens. When I mow the yard, I pretend I'm on ESPN and 2 sports announcers in my head are commenting on how excellent I took that turn and the precision movements of my mowing. Save all my emails as drafts and then release them in one giant wave. If I'm home alone, I'll host a cooking show for no one while I cook or bake. Twist my wrist a few times as I reach to open a door. Gotta make sure the wrist works before I get there. When I go get the mail, if I hear a car coming, I run in the house real quick so they don't see me and then look through the blinds like I got away with something. I have to let my wife go up the stairs first when it's bedtime because she has an irrational fear of being shot through the letterbox. When in the car, I pick my right foot up as we pass the white lines and tap it down between them. Have done this since I was little. I squeeze my soda can ever so slightly so that I know that it's mine. Growing up poor with a lot of siblings tends to make you a bit competitive. What was your worst they can say is no event that ended worse than a no? Asked boss for a raise. Got fired. Ooh, that sounds like a lawsuit potentially. In junior high, I asked out my first boy crush and he said, I don't date guys. I'm a girl. Oh, I'm so sorry. Asked my crush to homecoming. Was honestly shocked she said yes. She was texting one of our mutual friends how she wasn't going to have any fun at homecoming since I was going with her. Ooh, that's just a bullet to the back. Asked my mom if I could do roller derby at 19 and she took my car away and drained my bank account. She ended up putting the money back and giving my keys back a couple days later, but what the fuck was that? Had an interview for a job. My dad told me the worst they could say is no. The interviewer yelled at me and berated me. Terrible experience. Well, at least you know you never want to work there. Asked a guy I had a huge crush on out for dinner and he said yes. Mid-date, he started hitting on the waitress and telling me how hot she is. Turns out he had no idea it was a date. Almost 20 years later, we're still friends and laugh about it. Hurt like hell at the time though. I thought she'd say no. What she actually said was, can you not? I once went to a job interview that I drove an hour and a half away from my house, and when I got there, the door was locked. I knocked, I called, I waited a little bit in case they were at lunch. No one responded, and so I left. them. Yeah, they should not be making you wait that long to get a job. Asked out this girl in middle school and she said, I think I'm gonna throw up. Hurt like hell when I was little, but when we met up years later, I found out it was because she was nervous. Went to knock on someone's door to ask for money as part of an annual high school band fundraiser. Ended up being attacked and bitten by their dog. Left me with permanent damage in my leg and a fear of dogs I'm still not 100% over 12 years later. What's the most out of line thing a doctor has ever said to you? Mental health doctor told my daughter, you're too pretty to be depressed. What the hell? You don't say that to people. Not a doctor, but a dentist. When I was like 13 or 14, he commented on my lack of gag reflex, telling me that I'm going to be very popular with the boys. It took me a few years to realize what he meant by that. Mentioned that my sex drive was abnormally low to my gyno, and she said my husband just needed to be more forceful when initiating and I'd get into it. Immediately switched doctors and never looked back. Yeah, that's just some freak nonsense. Like, that's crazy. They gave me the wrong STD test results. Oh no! How does that happen? There is nothing wrong with you. Your problem is right here, as he points to his head. Then proceeds to recommend a religious radio station. I only timidly asked about some unexplained bruises appearing on the tops of my thighs. Another doctor asked me out when removing a mole. God damn, it is so hard to be a woman. I'm so sorry. I was with my girlfriend at a clinic, and the old male doctor asked her if her period was regular, and then asked me if her period made her bitchy. If the nurse's glare contained heat, that asshole would have combusted. Not a doctor, but a nurse told me that I shouldn't exercise to raise my heart rate because my heart has a fixed number of beats in it before it goes out. What popular saying is utter bullshit? Cheaters never prosper. Yeah, that's bull. I mean, look at how many billionaires we have. Only the guilty explain themselves. Sure they do, because wrongly accusing someone can do plenty harm. Also, the innocent have nothing to fear. The innocent have a lot to fear, mostly from the guilty, but in the long term, even more so from people who say things like, the innocent have nothing to fear. Sir Terry Pratchett, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Bullshit. I love woodworking and metalworking, but it's fucking work. If you smelt it, you dealt it. I know for a fact that there have been several times that I had smelt it and know absolutely that I had not dealt it. Slow and steady wins the race. Doesn't really make any sense. The true moral of the story, Tortoise and the Hare, is hubris is God's mightiest sword, since the hare's arrogance was his downfall in the race. Love means never having to say you're sorry. We're all in this together. What, you're saying High School Musical lied to me? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. PTSD is also a possibility. If you can't deal with my worst, you don't deserve my best. No. Hell no. Run away. Lightning never strikes twice. During lightning storms, I'm pretty sure lightning strikes a lot than twice. Never go to sleep angry. Nonsense. Sleep it off. We'll both feel better in the morning. I'm not giving up sleep to fight. If you could make something illegal, what would it be? Spam calls. God, the amount of calls I get on a day-to-day basis. Websites with those stupid videos that stay open in a floating window when you scroll down below the main video. Seriously, who thought those were a good idea? Police sirens in radio commercials. Small X buttons on mobile ads. I hate the kind where unless you have dainty fingers, you get redirected to a website. Junk mail. Think of all the "you're pre-qualified for a credit card" mail people get and how much of that goes straight in the trash. That's all I get in the mail. It's really annoying. Leaving e-scooters in the middle of the sidewalk. I think the scooters are like kind of weird, but I don't live in a big enough city to where they're needed, so just put them to the side, like near the curb. Get them out of the way. Free trials that force you to pay or put in credit card details. Oh yeah, no, that's just actually a scam. Like, never do that. Corporations buying and owning homes to make profit, essentially erasing affordable housing. Welcome to America. What started as a joke but became a legitimate thing. Weezer covering Africa by Toto happened because a 14-year-old girl made an account whose sole purpose was making this request, and the account gained enough popularity that they caught on and thought it was funny, so they did it for her. Oh, that's kind of sweet. I didn't know that was the reason. People making fun of razors with multiple blades and Gillette actually making it. This happened twice. B-movie. Jerry Seinfeld supposedly pitched the idea of a B-movie about bees as a joke, but Steven Spielberg liked it so much that it got greenlit. Editor's note, that was an answer before in like the last recording I did. I think Collect 49 or something. something? My dad was a member of the Flat Earth Society in the 80s. He thought it was the funniest thing ever to pretend that anyone would actually believe that. I wonder what he would think if he were alive today. The minor league baseball team name for Huntsville, Alabama, the Trash Pandas. Alright, Alabama might have a lot of issues, but that's a solid decision. Dogecoin, of course. Bugs Bunny's carrot started as a joke about a scene in a 1934 movie called It Happened One Night. Now, almost a century later, the joke has been lost and the carrot has just become part of the character. Tauntaun sleeping bags started off as a ThinkGeek April Fool's product and then they started selling them. Potato chips started because a cook was mad at a customer sending back scalloped potatoes and now the most popular snack in the world.
I was surprised when I learned that knowledge isn't necessarily correlated to intelligence. I met a lifelong academic who knew damn near everything about her topic, but just the facts. It's like she was a walking encyclopedia, could cough up any info about her field, but she couldn't really process it that well, or draw conclusions, or apply it to a different topic. It's hard to explain. She had a nice 2 TB SSD drive full of info in her head, but she had a substandard CPU. Since then, I've met several people like that, all academics, but I'm not sure that has anything to do with it. Wealth. Thank you for the gold and silver. I'm so rich. Therefore, I'm smart. SMRT, smart. A cromulent vocabulary. This embiggens me. Oh, yes. Slow down. My dictionary's on fire. I'm living in China right now, and everyone keeps calling me intelligent as I'm bald and left-handed. Using big words or complicated language when trying to explain something or talking about a difficult subject. The smartest people can actually make it sound simple. Being labeled gifted at a young age. Arrogance portrayed as confidence. A truly intelligent person knows that there's things they don't know and keeps trying to learn. An idiot refuses to acknowledge that there's anything they don't know and fears doing anything that might prove it. People that say, "Oh, sweetie," in an argument. If one animal was made the size of a whale, which would be the scariest? Chimpanzee. Already very strong and incredibly smart, just imagine if you pissed it off. Any microscopic insect or organism whose form is unfamiliar to the human eye as is. Ants would be pretty scary. Their faces. Keep it microscopic. A chicken would be absolutely terrorizing. That is a dinosaur. Perhaps we should pick a whale's prey and then see how they fight. Smart. Whale-sized shrimp? We would all be krilled. Praying mantis. Cockroach. Human. Oh god. I don't want to imagine people that big. What actor will you always associate with that one role, no matter how many others they do? Fran Drescher as the nanny. The guy who always plays a guy named Hector. Frankie Muniz as Malcolm Wilkerson. You mean his last name wasn't in the middle? McLovin. Leonard Nimoy as Spock. Alfonso Ribeiro as Carlton Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman. The dude who played Napoleon Dynamite will always only be Napoleon Dynamite. Bro that plays Jon Snow may as well legally change his name to Jon Snow because we're never gonna stop calling him Jon Snow. The Rock with his role as The Rock. Don't forget his wisecracking sidekick Kevin Hart, played by Kevin Hart. Elijah Wood will always be Frodo to me. What is common knowledge that you found out way too late? Always eat before shopping at Costco. More like always eat while shopping at Costco. Just because I hold an opinion on something doesn't mean that I need to share it. I spent way too much of my early adulthood inserting my viewpoint into discussions that I wasn't really a part of. Always get it in writing. Simply asking, "How are you?" once in a while is all it takes to not fall apart from old friends. That when people ask to borrow money, especially if it's a friend or a family, just expect to never see it again. Who knew a tissue, a stick of gum, and money were all the same to borrowers? Hard work isn't always the answer. When I worked a minimum wage job, I would work hard and not take breaks. So a great job, do a great job, and always finish early. I just then got told to pick up the slack for the employees who spent their time goofing off. Never got a promotion, raise, or even a, "Hey, good job." Yeah guys, minimum wage equals minimum effort. Know your worth. Don't overwork for a corporation that will replace you the next day. Every action made in anger ends in sorrow. An attorney when I was 24. I mean, I'm never sorry after I've rage cleaned. That you can actually say no to your parents. Percentages are reversible. So 8% of 25 is the same thing as 25% of 8. And sometimes the reverse is easier to calculate. There's no rules to doing chores. You can make it more fun if you want to. For no reason, I forgot that I could watch a TV show while I fold laundry, and I didn't have to sit there and just do it. That gargling salt water works way better than cough drops for colds and sore throats. What are you addicted to right now? Can anyone guess what my answer is? I won't say it, but if you've been watching my videos on here, you should know. I'll see it in the comments, and I'll reply to the ones that get it right. The internet. Can't stop using it. My brain is constantly overstimulated from it, but I keep scrolling Reddit or YouTube or play games. I need to rest my brain from it. If anyone has cured themselves, I would appreciate advice. Ice cream sandwiches. Haven't had one in about 5 years. Bought one last weekend. Since then, I've eaten about 24 in a week. Now I remember why I stopped buying them. Picking my skin. It's a nervous habit, and frankly, I'm at a point in my life where I'm always nervous. I've always dealt with acne and bumps and stuff, so so I always pick at them. It's never been quite this bad though. I've got 4 or 5 wounds on my arm that haven't healed after 3 months because I can't stop. Food. I just can't stop eating food. I'm scrolling it right now. The Elder Scrolls? Aren't you a little funny man? Aren't you a little funny baby man? Aren't you a little stinky funny baby man? I've also been addicted to blocked cheese. Growing up, we were too poor for real cheese, so we always ate the shitty plastic cheese. And I hadn't really tried real cheese on its own. Instant game changer. I'm now a rat, chilling at 3 a.m., taking bites out of a block of cheese. I wouldn't say I'm addicted, but I've had a hot dog with crispy onions for supper every night for a couple of weeks now. Biting the skin around my fingers. Dermatophagia. Caffeine. I have kidney pain nearly every day, had multiple kidney stones in the past, and genuinely feel like most of the days. But I just can't stop drinking espresso and Red Bulls. What was your biggest teenage mistake? Not taking better care of my teeth. Thanks, I'll go brush my teeth now. I took my uncle's beautiful restored classic car for a drive and didn't have a license and got it impounded. Not getting the hint that my friend, the beautiful Patricia, wanted to be way more than friends. Not being more sociable. I'm 25 now, and I have no f***ing idea how to make friends. Brother, let me know if you figure it out. I do not have any friends, except, the other EmKay boys, Robin, Zach, the fellas. Love them to death, but they're a little far away. It's like an hour and a half drive, sometimes 2 hours, there and back. But I love my friends. They're cool. Doing an unsuccessful backflip on a trampoline. What invention would you want to see in your lifetime? Dental regrowth would be friggin' sweet. Expensive, but sweet. Efficient water desalination and or plastic recycling. Universal translator. Here, put this fish in your ear. A tiny portable, almost free energy source. What would make your life a little better right now? Friends. If my back pain goes away. Money. I could go for some money. Being debt free. Thank God all I have is credit card debt. Feel bad for you guys with those student loans, especially if they didn't pay off for you with a good salary. I just work a trade job. The ability to travel back in time and correct my past mistakes. Some confidence in the future of our planet and society would be nice. Russia getting the f*** out of Ukraine and letting the world sigh in relief. What is your go-to fact that blows people's minds? All the Botox in the world, literally every gram, is produced in a factory in Westport, County Mayo, Ireland. You know when you get up too fast and feel dizzy? Squeezing and stiffening your buttocks together stops the dizziness. In the 1920s, Hawaiian music was the biggest selling category of sheet music. Greenland sharks can become up to 400 years old and don't reach sexual maturity until they're 150. Hey, leave her alone. She's only 125. I just learned this. There are more castles in Germany than McDonald's in the United States. The gene for 6 fingers is dominant, 5 fingers recessive. How? I find that really hard to believe. The recessive gene isn't supposed to win every time. I've only known one person in my entire life who had 6 fingers on one hand. He had a second thumb. It was actually pretty cool. Giraffes have the same number of neck bones as humans. The Sahara Desert used to be under the ocean, and you can still find seashells in the sand there. Adidas and Puma were made by brothers who happened to be Nazis. I was told the whole town would only talk to each other based on which brand they wore due to the brothers' rivalry back in school. There are more ways to arrange a deck of cards than there are atoms on Earth. No. What? I'm freaking out. This one freaks me out. We're moving on. Almost 100% of the matter that composes plants comes from the air, not the ground. What is a job that requires little effort but pays very well? My brother-in-law is a security guard for a mineral mine. Mostly walks around and reads books. He calls himself a paid witness in case a crime occurs. Makes good money for a decently leisurely job. I'm a limo driver. I make $35 an hour driving from point A to point B. Are you also bald by any chance? Might even have a barcode on the back of his head. There was an article a few years written by a guy whose job it is to literally watch paint dry for a paint manufacturer. Said it was boring, but paid roughly $70K. I forget the title, but basically escort at government facilities that require a security clearance. Pays like $80 to $90K, and all you have to do is walk non-cleared people, like say the janitor, around the building and make sure they don't steal anything. If you can pass a detailed background check, you're in. Apparently being one of my coworkers. Saying, I am Groot, and getting paid $55 million. Electrician. It's literally light work. Please. Barney Stinson's job. Whatever that is. I locked into my current job. Years and years of specialized software development skills. Switched to consulting this year, and I'm currently a bench warmer for a major corporation. They pay me very handsomely to be available if they need me. So far, they haven't needed me. What is the craziest thing that's ever happened to you? I, American, was visiting the UK for the first time. I got to my hostel and started chatting with the Australian guy in the bed above mine. When I mentioned where I'm from, he says there's a famous restaurant there he really loves and goes to with his family every time they visit. Turns out it was a place I used to work. He says, hey, I have a picture of our server from last time I was there. Maybe it's someone you know. It was me. I had the lower bunk of a set of bunk beds. I was about 3 to 4 years old at the time, and I woke up and ran to my parents' room just minutes before the top bunk smashed down on my lower bunk. We all ran in and found my older sister sitting up on the upper bunk, as it was laying on my lower bunk, crying, but otherwise fine. I don't know that it could have killed me. I kind of doubt it, but it would have been that bad. But it definitely would have hurt me if I had still been there when it crashed. My date and I got stuck at the top of a Ferris wheel for nearly 3 hours when the ride's mechanism failed. It was a very tall wheel. She was afraid of heights, so those hours in the Ferris wheel car together seemed like an eternity. This is one of my nightmare situations. Terrified of heights, but I often just push through to do something such as ride a Ferris wheel. My date once fainted in a Ferris wheel. Don't worry, she slowly came around. But I opened my wallets to show my friends I had no monies, and a moth flew out of it. I couldn't even imagine how hard I'd laugh at that. That's great. When I was 7 years old, I got picked out of over 100 dancers to dance with Mariah Carey on stage at her concert. It was definitely crazy, but also one of the coolest things to ever happen to me. Several lightning strikes on my house, like 5. I had been to many experts. Thought with the first house that perhaps there was a physical reason. Now that the second house has also been hit, decided I pissed off Thor. At least you're not a Thor loser. Was on a late night walk with a friend. We found $900 and $100 bills on the ground as we walked past a parking lot at about 1 or 2 a.m. Bro, that was drug money. Bro, you are on a list. You are on a list. What was ruined by the internet? My attention span. Privacy. The internet was ruined by the internet. Damn Scots, they ruined Scotland. Childhood innocence. Trivial Pursuit night at the bar or pub. Blockbuster. Is that the song from TikTok? What song has the most recognizable beginning? Hotel California is the first one that came to mind. For me, at least. Beethoven's Fifth. Fair enough. Queen. We Will Rock You. Oh yeah, the 2 stomps of the feet and a clap. No words, no guitar, no instruments. You don't even need to repeat it, and everyone knows what it is, and knows how to do it. Even if you're too young to know the band name or the song, you know you can do that, and not only that, but that it wasn't you that came up with it on your own. All-Star by Smash Mouth. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I might be biased as a 90s kid, though. Thunderstruck by Akadaka. Such a good song. Billie Jean. It takes a bad to make a drum beat iconic. Smells Like Teen Spirit. Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede. Ooga chaka, ooga ooga. Smoke on the Water. God, that used to be my favorite song. When I was a kiddo, Smoke on the Water was my favorite song. It is still in my Spotify playlist to this day. Good old 035. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Plays a single G note on piano. Where did this black eyeliner come from? All us emo kids scrolling to find this. What is something you hate to see being romanticized? Relationships with clear problems shown as passionate. So much of this passion is terrible emotional management and terrible communicative skills, bordering on or actual abuse. Gang or thug lifestyle. If you're born into it, raised by the streets, props to you for living this long. Hope you make it out one day. If you're not, don't. Just don't. F off or end up as another chalk line on the pavement. Cartels and drug dealers. Family bloggers exploiting their children for views. Mental illness. Hustle culture. No, Haley, you're not better than me because you haven't slept in 3 years. Mommy and daddy issues. I don't think I have to explain why. Child beauty pageants. They're sadly a real thing / industry, but like, in what world is that not child abuse? Spoiler alert, what fictional character's death affected you the most? When I was a kid, it wasn't necessarily a fictional death, but when I watched Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and saw Anakin almost die in the lava, I was very sad. Very, very sad. I cried in the theater. The Green Mile. That was... Have you ever seen Up's opening credits? I am a leaf on the wind. How do you pronounce that? Poos? I really hope that's not... I hope I'm not butchering that. Poos on Orange is the New Black. Fry's dog. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say I sobbed when that little girl was burnt in Game of Thrones. Andrea from Breaking Bad. I almost always fast-forward through that scene when I rewatch the show. Realistically, Mufasa. Still scarred. Which protagonist is actually a horrible person? Why did no one say that Goldilocks bitch? She dead broke into someone's house, complained about the way they live, and then acts like the victim once she's called out. Have you seen 2012? Cusack's entire family is a pack of rabid psychopaths. Constantly put other people in danger and at one point threaten the survival of the human race in order to save their own lives. Peppa Pig is an absolute bitch. Somebody needs to turn that fucker to bacon already. BoJack Horseman, but that's kind of the point of the whole show. Mr. Bean, he's inept and creative. That's the allure. But he's also incredibly selfish. For example, he gets the comic on the kid in the dentist waiting room by pouring water over him to make his mom think he wet himself. He steals the ticket from the burns victim in the doctor's waiting room in order to jump the queue. Woody in the first half of Toy Story. You know, originally, Woody was written to be the straight-up villain of the movie. You can even look up the original audio they made of Tom Hanks playing that version of the character. The result turned out being so downright mean that they actually had to rework the entire script into what we actually got. Jerry, both Seinfeld and the Mouse. Walter White, aka Heisenberg. That man is just pure evil. Scott Pilgrim doesn't deserve anything he has. Movie and novel versions alike. Peter Griffin. Have you ever held a grudge against a teacher you still think of today? How did they wrong you? My 6th grade English teacher put us into groups and we shared stuff about we had to share stuff about a book we read about a specific person, like each had their own person, and I didn't get around to mine by the time class ended, and so she made me read it aloud to the class and put me on the spot and didn't let anyone leave until I'd finished it, and she made me cry in front of the entire class, and it was horrible. To this day, I still will never forget it. I was embarrassed. Everyone laughed at me. It'd be like that though. We move. A teacher in university accused me of plagiarism, and she said she spent the whole night trying to find out what I plagiarized, but because she couldn't prove it, she wasn't going to report it to the school. I wrote it myself. We were about 6 years old, and the teacher told us to make Father's Day cards. I went up to the teacher to tell her my dad was dead. She snapped at me and said, "Do it anyway." So I was made to sit in class making Father's Day cards to my dead father. I was in digital illustration class, and we had a project to illustrate a monster. I decided to draw the parasites from the movie Cloverfield. We posted all of our pictures up in class, and he went one by one giving detailed critiques. He got to mine and just looked at it and said, "That's a creature, not a monster," and moved on to the next one. I got a C on that assignment. This was the same teacher that accidentally pulled out the plug on the back of my computer after 5 hours of work on my final and refused to give me any extra time to complete it. F you, Gordon. My idiot 7th grade science teacher, and I remember this because it was so ridiculous. We had to watch a video on wildlife or something and then write a short paper afterward about what we watched. I was in advanced reading classes when I was younger and read my thesaurus and encyclopedias for funsies, so I had a slightly better grasp of English than my classmates. I'm not trying to brag, but this is relevant information. That teacher knocked 20 points off my paper because I did not use grade appropriate language. I got a lower mark because I was using words she felt were beyond my grade level. I'm still salty about it 25 years later. What is the most disappointing book to movie adaptation? I believe the Aragon movie was so bad, the author refused to let his other books be made into movies. Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. Lightning Thief is bad, but Sea of Monsters defecates on anything and everything good about the book. All of the characters are completely mangled beyond recognition, and the plot is completely butchered. What they did to Tyson was unforgivable. Dark Tower was very bad. A Wrinkle in Time, just awful. Inkheart. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. The Hobbit trilogy. I've grown to like some parts of it, but it really didn't need to be stretched out like butter scraped over too much bread. Girl on the Train. The book was great. The movie left something to be desired. I was very disappointed in 13 Reasons Why. The book in high school made me think so much about how little things I did could affect someone in a big way. I tried to be more careful with how I treated people. The show has a lot of flaws that we've all heard about countless times, but overall, I don't think teens walked away from it thinking about their actions as much as it was just a high school drama that Netflix needlessly milked into 4 seasons. Cat in the Hat. So bad, Dr. Seuss's wife vowed to never let another live-action film happen. What's a did you know fact that everyone should know? Did you know that mixing bleach and ammonia creates a toxic gas that will kill you painfully? Don't do it. Read the label. Yeah, I love watching all the chemical TikTok accounts and YouTube channels where they just mix a bunch of chemicals in their toilet, and almost every time it's ammonia and bleach. How are these people still alive? They're making like almost mustard gas. If you're walking through nature and come across a snake, you generally aren't in any danger unless its body makes an S pattern, meaning it feels threatened and is prepared to strike. Other animals that do similar things are bears, wild boars, wolves, and most wild cats. Typically, their hair will stand up, most of the time to avoid being attacked, never break eye contact, and back away slowly, making loud noises. Saved my life a few times. If you're at the beach and the water level drops very quickly, seek high ground immediately. That means it's time to start panicking. Sharks existed before trees. You can only see a rainbow when the sun is behind you. Did you know honey doesn't have an expiration date? Cats have 37 muscles in each ear. Antibiotics kill the effectiveness of birth control. I found that out 17 years ago. Now I have to warn my daughter, who is 17. Did you know ladybugs spend half their lives as these creepy looking larvae with legs? Most people see it and think it's some hostile critter and kill them, but it's a baby ladybug. Look it up. Did you know that if you laid a fully grown blue whale from end to end on a basketball court, the game would be canceled? Did you know in the Walt Disney Pinocchio movie, his nose only grows once the entire damn movie? Everyone should know we can judge the upcoming movie for accuracy. Your username is now your job. How's life? Well, my username is Says Mason, so I say things. That's what I'm doing right now. So nothing's changed. Please pay $4.99 to access the AskReddit Answers skin pack. It's okay or whatever. Same. I would have to assume I'm an internet sensation. Can I switch with anyone? I'd like to switch, bro. Jacket. Big Refrigerator says, pretty cool. 10th time lucky says, I got there eventually. Oh no. Oh no. Can I please be fired immediately? Says Cactus Fucker 1. Amazing. Oh wait, no, it's a vibrator. Amazing. What are acceptable lies you can tell your kids? We told our son that his ears turned red when he lied. For years, he would try to cover his ears if he was lying. It was usually pretty obvious, but still nice. We were told the car wouldn't start until all seatbelts were plugged in. Netflix has to charge. charged. Let's watch something else. Netflix finishes on my TV at 7 p.m. These are spicy. You won't like them. No, you can't have any. Broccoli makes you super strong, and I don't want to live as Superman's mother. Hey, that's a good one. That's actually a good one. Those with kids, try that out. Tell me if it works. When I was 3, I was told that eating the crust off my sandwiches would enhance my toe wiggling abilities. So I ate my whole sandwich and then sat on the couch and wiggled my toes. End result, fully nourished kid. If I had kids, I'd borrow that life for sure. That goddamn elf on a shelf. New parents, don't fall into that trap. It's a 30-night, a year commitment for 8 or 10 years. Remembering to move it every night to a different spot for a solid month for 10 years? Just don't do it. That's the music truck. He just likes to drive around playing music for everyone to listen to. What is a phrase that you can't stand? Your payment is due. These challenging and trying times. But related. Should've. This is I dialect for should've, which is short for should have. Should've makes no sense whatsoever. Well, others have it worse. I know, Karen, but for now, just let me exist in peace. Thank you. No offense, right before you offend me. You're not a real fan unless you... People can like stuff without spending hours of researching and consuming every bit of something. My big one, and it's not that big, is could care less. This one makes my spine hurt. Do people who say it even stop to think about what they're saying? You mean you couldn't care less? Out of pocket, circle back. At the end of the day, any mention of synergy.
What did you see that you definitely weren't supposed to see? Grandma naked, repeatedly. My room is across the hall from the bathroom, and I would do homework a lot with headphones on. I heard my grandma holler something to me from the bathroom. Took my headphones off and looked to the bathroom door right as she opened it to go to the guest bedroom. Turns out she was saying, "Don't look! Naked grandma!" Solid mental scarring right there. Was working at a hotel during college and saw my lab partner get a room with the professor. Ooh, this is some spicy tea. My company's entire payroll on a spreadsheet. Someone left it on the printer. Use that info to get a way past due raise. What felt like a useless piece of advice until you actually tried it. Once begun is half done. Can't say I've ever heard that one, but it does sound kinda nice. This too shall pass. On those days when I just feel like I can't take it, I think of that and I know tomorrow will be different. Someone once told me, tomorrow may not be better, but at least it'll be different. In a strange way, that too is comforting. My grandfather told me this and I never understood it until I had my own place. Always buy the cheap tools at first, and if you wear it out / break it, then you use it enough to justify getting a nicer, more expensive one. There's what you need, there's what you want, and there's what you can't afford. My dad says this all the time, and I never thought of it as useless, I just never used it. Now I have, and my money is far easier to manage. Putting cold water on freshly shaved skin will make it so you don't get ingrown hairs. Some of the best advice I've ever received. What part of your personality do you fake? Intelligence. I've learned how to make myself seem like I know what I'm doing. Don't have energy to fake stuff anymore. Am perpetually grumpy. I literally spend so much time on my own lately that I feel as though my whole personality is fake when I have to interact with others. My ability to perform small talk. I have absolutely no patience for it. I've got an entire customer service personality that's fake. I'm pretty sure everybody that works in customer service has built a new personality just so they can kinda block out the hatred they receive on a daily basis. Being outgoing. No, I don't want to go out and socialize. Yes, I will anyways. What's the harshest reality no one accepts? Some parents just don't love their children, and those parents deserve to go to hell. Sometimes you must accept the truth that there always will be idiots who will fuck it up for the rest of us. Not everyone will turn out to be a superstar or super successful in their lives. Beauty and money matter a lot. The world is nicer to rich and beautiful people. Hard work doesn't always pay off. Some people just can't be saved. You could give them every benefit in the world and they still could choose to throw it all away and you can't do anything about it. Very late, but sometimes you are the problem in a relationship, and if people keep on leaving you, it may well be your fault, even if you don't feel like it is. Serious. What is the harshest truth you've ever learned? Even if you treat someone really well and you both love each other, it doesn't always end like a Hollywood movie. Sometimes there are too many obstacles. You can do everything right, give something 100% effort, follow all the rules, and still fail. Being the hardest worker will not always equate to you being the one rewarded or recognized for accomplishments. It doesn't matter how much you love someone, one day you will hurt them, and one day they will hurt you, just hopefully not with a knife. life. Don't fall in love with potential. That the world doesn't wait for you to be okay. You just gotta learn to pick yourself up and get better. All those are kind of downers. They kind of all just bum me out. You wake up. It's 2050. What do you Google first? I'd Google things you wouldn't believe were considered okay to say 30 years ago. Time Travelers 2020. I promise you won't find a Google result about you. How much longer until The Winds of Winter release date is announced? Is Elizabeth II still alive? God, if she somehow makes it that far. Ugh. My name. Gotta find out if there was a major disturbance over my disappearance or if nobody actually noticed. Plot twist. Google doesn't exist anymore. It's all meta, baby. Turns on incognito mode. Oh, yeah. You time travel and then, let's just crank one out real quick. Gross. People who don't sleep naked. Why? On the slight possibility somebody gets into my room and then they see my little hang on. No, I didn't mean small. I have a cat that would definitely bite my d. In case of fire, I don't want to evacuate naked. It just feels weird to me to do so. I feel the same way. Don't worry. Guys in the barracks don't appreciate it. It's just guys being dudes. Come on. Can't risk my falling out of bed. You don't want the monster to grab it. Or do you? I share with people. Don't fancy walking to the toilet in the middle of the night, stark bollock naked, and my housemates potentially ogling my mini baguette. What is the scariest thing you've ever seen while driving at night? An asshole overtaking a petrol tanker around a blind corner, coming my way. Scared the out of me. I slammed the brakes once because I saw a deer in my peripheral vision. Upon closer inspection, it was a mounted deer head on a stick in the middle of the woods. Slammed the gas after I realized that. Frogs. Everywhere. Like hundreds of frogs all over the road. A dead butchered horse laying in the road. Someone had completely skinned and butchered a horse, took the choice pieces of meat, and just dumped it on the highway. I almost crashed into it. A lonely abandoned shack with a bunch of arrows pointing to it, saying, "Come in." 3 a.m. on a lonely road, and I was the passenger. An old man only wearing a bra, panties, and high heels was casually walking down the road. My friend who was driving didn't believe me and went back around. Sure enough, he saw him and we were like, what the What's the dumbest thing you actually believed? That WD-40 meant windows down 40 miles per hour. Someone told me that in middle school as a joke, and I took it literally until I was a senior. That mini giraffes, also known as pygmy or dwarf giraffes, were a real creature and you could be placed on a waiting list to receive one. This was probably my first foray into having my identity stolen as a teenager. Someone convinced me for like 5 seconds that unicorns were real. They just lost their horns through evolution and now they are plain old horses. I was convinced that Greeks still worshipped Zeus and other gods for a while after I heard the word Greek Orthodox Church as a kid. I thought that teachers lived at school. Wait, they don't? I used to think that people exclusively wore hats if they were bald, because that's why my dad wore a hat. That reindeer wasn't an actual animal, but specifically a mythical animal that Santa Claus used. I believed this until I was 23 or so when I saw some nature documentary talking about reindeer. I was like, what? What is the best animated movie and why? Oh boy, let's see some wrong opinions. Grave of the Fireflies. Never would have thought that an animated movie could make me cry like a little bitch. The Secret of Nim. Stunning visuals, amazing score, great voice acting, and a story that's a lot more interesting than the book it's based on. Not sure if anyone said this, but The Last Unicorn. Everything from the animation to the characters is stellar, and I don't think I've ever watched an animated movie that's made me feel the same way as The Last Unicorn does. Definitely The Road to El Dorado. Visually beautiful, music by Elton John, funny. I could rewatch that movie so many times. I'd say the original Ghost in the Shell. Storytelling, incredibly artistic hand-drawn scenes, music that I can recall to this day. It was pretty groundbreaking artistically and ideologically for 1995. What is not a bullet you dodged, but a huge tactical nuke you dodged? When driving in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan last summer, a truck full of logs flipped and barreled straight into my car. Completely demolished the car. Someone else had to come open the door for me after the fact because they were all pinned shut by logs. I walked out of there without a scratch on my body. They might think they're safe, but they're actually now in a Final Destination movie. My wife dragged my ass to the dermatologist for a cyst I've had for years. While there, the doc noticed a mole on my ankle that he didn't like. Turned out to be melanoma. Would have never gone if my wife didn't force me. I was engaged to someone, but then then came to my senses and broke it off. 9 months later, I found out she got married to someone else. Then about 1 year after that, she killed her husband. Didn't go to a Halloween party because I got a bad feeling. Found out years later, 5 girls were waiting for me so they could pummel me to the ground, all because I was friends with one of the girls' boyfriends at one point and he had admitted he found me attractive. Few years ago, I was in a small fender bender. Someone merged into my lane with me in it and smashed my driver's side door and their passenger door together. I had pulled my arm in from having it hanging out the window about 15 seconds before that happened. Would have most likely had my arm ripped off. The second floor of the house I was renting collapsed a month after I moved out. ETA. Apparently a water pipe sprung a leak shortly after we left. We weren't in any trouble. What's the best Wi-Fi name you've seen? Router? I hardly know her, was my all-time favorite. Crack Shack, which wasn't exactly creative, but we later found out that the owners were arrested for selling drugs. Edit. No, it was not a restaurant. We don't have a restaurant chain named Crack Shack in my state. My younger brother set his mobile hotspot to hot singles in your area, and I'm never gonna get over it. We're not allowed to have our own routers on campus, so I named mine AT&T Mobile Hotspot. Rebellious Amish Family. Alright, that one is a pretty solid name. My dad's a huge fan of The Matrix and calls every router we've ever had the Nebuchadnezzar. My favorite is, it's on the back of the router. Edit. On the back of the router, it would say, ask my name for password. What's a book everyone should read at least once in their lives? Surprised I haven't seen it here already, so I'll add it. The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. In Slaughterhouse 5, Vonnegut said it could teach everything that we needed to know about life, except that wasn't enough anymore. I messed that up. You can yell at me. I can't speak Russian. I'm sorry. The Phantom Toll Booth. That's called cell phone companies charging you hidden fees. Johnny's Got His Gun. It's so intense, but it's so good. Metallica's song 1 is based off this book. Guy has his arms and legs blown off, goes blind and deaf, and is left to live like that. I only read it once, but it's forever ingrained into my memory. It hits you like a freight train. All quiet on the Western Front. Everyone should have to reckon with the reality of what war actually means. Night by Elie Wiesel. It is absolutely heart-wrecking, and I hated every moment of reading it, which is exactly the effect it's supposed to have. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Such a great book. Matilda or Witches by Roald Dahl. For me, I'm stupid and I can't read, so I'll just watch the movies. What popular saying is actually bullshit? Hard work never killed anyone. It doesn't matter who started it. Of course it f***ing does. Even legally, the concept of who did what first is recognized as vital. Sleep like a baby. It implies that babies sleep really well. My second is 4 days old. I can confirm babies don't sleep well. If you tell me the truth, you won't get in trouble. Now you see, this rule does not hold up in court. Don't try it. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can. Just the owner is a stubborn old bag. What goes around comes around. I've seen so many good, honest people get screwed over by toxic, immoral people who never get their comeuppance. The concept of karma is bullshit. This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. Lies! Opposites attract. They don't. Birds of a feather flock together, on the other hand, is usually true for relationships. If people came with a warning tag, what would yours be? Incredibly stupid. Explain things slowly. Object appears cooler than it actually is. Tolerable only in small doses. Poor impulse control. If you can read this, you are too close. But in reality, big letters. I think they meant to say really big letters, but I got the point anyway. Warning, choking hazard, small parts, as is, all sales final. Caution, hard to motivate, interests may change randomly, mental stability not guaranteed. Redditors with thin walls. What have you heard in your apartment? My old neighbor was a cam girl, and I could hear absolutely everything she said in every single session for a good 4 months. Pretty much learned the names of her clients. I work from home, and it was always a gamble whenever I had to meet with someone virtually. I once heard a former roommate laughing with his then girlfriend about how they're f***ing me over on money. Turned out they were taking my utility portion and buying various games and alcohol. F*** you, man. If you don't like spaghetti, then you don't like me. God, what a conversation to listen in on. My downstairs neighbors are a couple with a 1-year-old boy. The baby's room is right under mine. They speak so sweetly to him, I'm not even mad that I can hear them so clearly. One morning, the dad went in to get the baby out of bed, and I hear him go, "Can you say daddy? Can you say daddy?" And in the tiniest little voice I heard, Daddy, my heart melted. And if I find out any of you saved that little voice clip, I will find you. I once heard an argument that went a little like this. Stop treating me like I'm stupid. You asked if seahorses were mammals, Jessica. They give live birth. My upstairs neighbors take turns zapping each other with a stun gun, hitting the floor, groaning in pain, and then laughing like Beavis and Butthead. Gina, I love you. Gina, no. Gina, damn it, put the knife down. At this point, both the apartments adjoining to Gina's called the police. Gina's husband decided to spend the night elsewhere. My male neighbor from India belting out Hello by Adele at the top of his lungs. It was magical. And on that note, we've come to the end of today's video. One last time, my name's been Brandon, and I will see you in another video.